I think I'm probably fair to say that I'm one of the ones in this room that has the highest levels of these toxic chemicals in my body as we speak. You haven't heard from residents today. Health must come first in any of these regulations. Whether, the water treatment system people and all of that, those financial things will get worked out. They're being worked out from state to state to state. Whether it's EPA giving more WIFIA loans, which they keep saying they're going to do on the PFAS plans. Whether Superfund gets invoked, make the polluters pay. Makes sense. CERCLA listing hopefully will stay in the NDAA so you can force DOD to start cleaning up their mess in Newburgh, stuff like. What will not be worked out in cost are long-term, lifelong health effects. That's our burden. Those are our medical bills, right? If it was your children and your grandbabies, and we still have babies being born in Hoosick Falls today, even though our water's been treated, because their moms were highly exposed. And we're talking, friend of mine, 5-week-old baby was born at 75 parts per trillion. Another friend of mine, 15 months old, 222. Health has to come first. The money, the budgets, all of that can get worked out. There's been 2 very large conferences since you all last met. In fact, Gary attended one with me in Boston. Of those 2, and they're day-long conferences, both overwhelmingly every leading scientist, health study researcher, epidemiologist, toxicologist, and including the National Institute on Environmental Health, all of them said there is no safe level of these chemicals, but suggested they be no more than 0 to 5. Every single one of the experts at that conference, both conferences, am I right? You will not be the least or the most protective in the state because as you've waited, other states are coming in lower. Other states who had 13 and 14 are now revising theirs lower with new data that's come out in just the last 6 months. And I know it's been submitted to you through other organizations. Please go through it. The more we find out about this stuff, the more research, the worse it gets. The worse it gets. NIEH was looking at between 100 and 200 of these chemicals. And do you know how many they so far have found to be not toxic? None of them. None. We have to assume. And so it would also be remiss if you didn't consider 10 is great starting numbers. You have to consider that we have more than 2 of these chemicals in us. You know this from the biomonitoring. You have to consider what the body burden is going to be as you find more and more and more of these things in us. 10 at PFOA, hey, great, but when you start adding PFNA, PFHXS, PFB, we know these things are in us as we keep testing our blood. You say you want to do the right thing. You say you want to make this process as good as you can. It's been a long process. We understand. You want to do right. Well, if we set it at 10 and then another new study comes out in 3 months that says, wow, it's even really worse, we're back at the drawing board. If you add more chemicals, the PFAS chemicals, to the next list and find out they are finding out they're worse. They might not stay in the body as long, but they hit the organs faster and harder. And we haven't even gotten to the replacement chemicals yet because those are still unregulated. So looking at the total body burden, is 10 for PFOA and 10 for PFOS health protective enough if you're not considering the rest of the stuff you all know now is in us? It's in us. The tests are in. For only 6. The other financial stuff will be worked out. I'm in touch with 15 to 20 other groups in 15 to other 20 states. Well, I'm getting this information real time on what's going on around the country. I've been traveling around the country. I read this stuff 30 hours a week, and I'm not stupid on this stuff, especially when it comes to the health of our families. And our families that have been exposed expect our Department of Health to say, we don't want you exposed any longer. We'll figure out the money part. We have to. It'll get done. Might take 5 years, We've been waiting on the EPA that long, probably going to be waiting on them for another 3. It will get done. Our health costs will not. So please, health first, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Loreen. After Elizabeth Moran, our final commenter, Rob Hayes.